Greetings everyone. This is a video lecture to review the course syllabus for SW741, which is Perspectives in Leadership, Organizations, and Communities. And this lecture is designed to replace the Zoom meeting that was organized for September the 10th, which was canceled in solidarity with the scholar strike. So hopefully you'll find the next few minutes reviewing the course syllabus helpful, and it will give you an overview of what we're going to be doing together over the next 4 months, over the next 13 weeks. Like all courses in the School of Social Work, this course is built on a framework of the Social Work Statement of Philosophy for the school, and we work from a critical framework. We're concerned about the integration of issues related to both individual experiences of social phenomena and structural and societal issues related to people's experiences. We're also concerned about addressing things from an intersectional perspective, from thinking about how people's contexts and identities shape their experiences, and how social justice is closely related to every social worker's everyday practice. So I'm going to give you an overview of the course, and this is about the 5th time that I've taught this course, so you're the 5th cohort that's gone through a relatively new MSW program, and this is really your first course that's focused on leadership and understanding perspectives of leadership. So we are taking up leadership in a really complicated and generous way. We're not talking about the stuff that they might be talking about in a business school. We're talking about complicating the notion of leadership, looking at it from a social justice oriented perspective, and looking at critical theories as they relate to notions of leadership. So some of the things that we'll talk about are feminist perspectives of leadership, Indigenous leadership perspectives, and a theory called post-heroic. We're also going to be looking at the way in which leadership is tied to processes of change and also processes of stability in social service organizations and in communities. So really understanding the leader as somebody who has a desire to create innovation or change within the context that they're engaged. And we're also going to think about the relationship between experiences of oppression and structural arrangements and the role for the leader in making change in this way. We're going to look at opportunities for promoting social service user interests, particularly in the context of marginalized communities. And we're going to think about working around new, more equitable organizational practices that also improve the working conditions that social workers and other workers experience. We're going to also think about governance and how governance can be more oriented towards social justice. We're going to think about humane organizational cultures and how the culture of an organization shapes the experiences of supervisors and direct service workers, as well as clients. And we're going to think about the role of considering diversity and difference in the making of new organizational cultures. We're also going to think about communication and the role that it plays in organizations, how we might use influence and persuasion as a way of creating change, and how collaboration is understood from a critical perspective. We're also going to think about policy and how policy dovetails into all of these things, and how policy frameworks and processes get enacted and recreated at the institutional and organizational level. So we have a full slate of things to think about, but I think it's a really interesting course, and I hope that you're going to enjoy deconstructing some of the things that you might already know about leadership, and also teaching me a few things that I don't know about leadership that you know based on the work that you're doing. Okay, so we've looked at the broad overview, and now we're going to look at the course objectives. And as I'm sure you're all aware, the purpose of a course objective is to really let students know what they can expect to leave with at the end of the course. So hopefully these are the kind of action items, things that you're going to learn, things that you're going to know more about when you're finished our time together. So we're hoping to provide students with an opportunity to really think about power and power relations as they relate to leadership. including things like the role of funding and governance structures in expressing power within organizations and in shaping the way in which power operates. We're also going to think about accountability and evaluation and the models that are introduced oftentimes by funders or by governments who legislate particular kinds of practice. And we're going to think about how they shape understandings of leadership and what we might do to kind of expand or reimagine these perspectives. We're going to provide you with an opportunity to think critically about professionalization, which is different than professionalism or even being a competent and effective worker. We're going to think about how professionalization shapes the structures and practices of leadership and how organizational culture and stories about organizational culture and leadership play a role in all of this. We're also going to think about human resources, everybody's favorite department, and how perspectives and theories of human resources play a role also in constituting leadership and in followership as well. And once again, we're going to be attending to diversity and inclusion and how these relate to leadership practices, including the role of a supervisor who might be responsible for formal leadership within the context of a team of practitioners. We're going to think about and analyze critically the tensions that exist within mainstream notions of leadership, so those kinds of business-oriented perspectives I was speaking about, and how this might challenge social work leaders in the work that they're doing or wanting to do within the context of organizations, particularly under a neoliberal social reality, which is the political orientation we're all kind of swimming around in. We're going to think about things like mandated partnerships or agency or organizational amalgamation, whether that's actually amalgamating institutions into a single entity or whether it's placing people under umbrella organizations, for example, the new Ontario Health Teams, and how these models of collaboration are different than other models of collaboration. We're also going to think about quality assurance metrics and evaluation metrics and evidence-based practice and how all of these things shape what we understand as leadership and provide both opportunities and challenges for leaders in the field. We're going to look at, again, evaluation and the role that critical reflexivity plays in evaluation. We're going to think about identity and how people understand themselves within the notion of leadership and how this relates to our understanding of what makes a leader and what makes leadership. We are also going to talk about how alliances play a role in the work of leaders. So who do you know and who do you network with? And then finally, hopefully you're going to learn some new written and oral communication skills. And certainly within the context of the course, you're going to learn all about being online. And that's not necessarily a bad thing because there's a lot of digital activity that happens at the organizational level. So a big chunk of your grade is related to the contract grading assignment, which has 3 component parts. They're listed there. You have the grading contract, you have the experience, and then you have the reflection. So what I am going to say about that is there's a whole other PowerPoint, there's a whole other conversation, there's video materials, there's all kinds of stuff related to the contract grading assignment. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about it, so I'm not going to talk about it anymore here, but I do hope it's something that brings you a lot of learning and a bit of challenge and a bit of fun while we're working together. The next assignment is really the large final leadership essay, which is due at the end of the course, December 11th, so a couple of days after the term ends. It's worth 35% of your final mark. It's an individual assignment, which you'll receive an individual grade on. It's a traditional essay, although it is a combination of reflexive writing and also library research, so it's okay to use I statements in the sections that are reflective or reflexive, depending on how you understand it. You're going to use materials from the course, as well as materials from the library, to write a paper that presents your definition, or a definition that you like, of leadership relative to your own personal and professional goals, or your personal professional goals. You're going to use scholarly literature from the course and selected library research. You need to use a minimum of 6 scholarly course sources in the paper. You can use 3 from the assigned readings in the course and 3 that you find yourself that relate to your topic and expand your understanding. You can use popular or supplemental sources. You find something in Business Weekly that you really want to include because it makes you unhappy. You find something in the paper that speaks to what you are wanting to talk about, and you're welcome to use those, but they don't count as the scholarly sources. You need to use APA format, and we have a new version, which is version 7, for your citation and the paper style and setup. And the writing technical pieces, so style and spelling and formatting, is worth 10% of the final grade. There will be a rubric for this, but this pretty much summarizes the pieces. So hopefully it will be a useful exercise for you, as it allows you to present what you understand as a definition of leadership from your perspective. And finally, 20% of your final grade relates to engagement activities in the course. We are going to be doing a number of ongoing activities. You'll be assigned weekly activities, most weeks, not every week, to complete online as part of the course modules and as part of working through independently a big section of this course. The assignments can include things like a quiz, an oral reflection in Flipgrid, a short group assignment that you hand in at the end of the class, written activities, or an online presentation, formal or informal. Engagement activities and instructions will be provided in each module through Avenue to Learn, as well as the mark value. Generally speaking, the mark value is about participating and engaging. It's not specifically about evaluating the work that you produce, although there are some exceptions to that rule. But you'll know about that, and it will be clear to you on Avenue to Learn. The assignments should be completed in the module that they are assigned, because each module has their own, and if you get behind in them, it's going to prove to be a problem. Some of them have a very small mark value, and certainly in other courses, people have elected not to do the engagement activities in some weeks, and it's been just a very small number of marks, similar to deciding not to come to class when there's a participation mark involved in the course. I want to remind folks that we have a policy for academic accommodation for students with disabilities. If you have a particular need, please get in touch with me. I'm very happy to do my best to work with you to come up with a solution. Sometimes that solution is something like an extension. Sometimes that solution is reorienting the marks in the course so that it serves you in a more productive way. Accommodations can include a temporary situation. You break your leg, you burn your hand, you're not able to type, something like that. And so I want people to remember that they can call on the Student Accessibility Service for both temporary and more long-standing needs that they may have. It's good to get these things organized. If something were to happen, like I became sick and I had to be replaced halfway through the course, having a formal arrangement makes a lot of sense. So do please use the SAS resources, but also chat with me, and let's see if we can come up with an arrangement if you have a need. In addition to the SAS accommodations, we also have the Religious, Indigenous, and Spiritual Observances Policy, or the Reivew Academic Accommodation Policy. So if you have an observance or spiritual activity, religious activity that is somehow in conflict with the timing or the outcomes of the course, I'm happy to work towards coming up with an alternative solution. And so please let me know. In particular, if the scheduling of the Zoom meeting isn't somehow in conflict with a religious observance, then I would really invite people to let me know. I'm happy to adjust the time within the 3-hour block that we have if that is a necessary outcome for people, because I would prefer that you attend and not come late when we only have an hour together. I prefer people don't come late ever, but I realize life sometimes gets in the way. But if it's going to be a regular tension for you, then please let me know and we can look at another time within the 3-hour block that we have. I'm happy again to work with you to come up with a solution that works for the entire group. The university has an email communication policy, and the expectation is that you're going to use your mcmaster.ca email to communicate with me. It is possible to forward your McMaster email to another account like Hotmail, but it is important that when you're sending email messages that you make sure that the address that the messages are being sent from is your mcmaster.ca account. You will need your mcmaster.ca account to access Flipgrid, and Flipgrid will block you if you try to use, say, a Hotmail, Gmail, or any other mail that you have account. The other thing that I've discovered is oftentimes attachments become disconnected when you don't use your mcmaster.ca email account, and material that you are to receive can sometimes get lost. So please do use the mcmaster.ca account, and if I notice that you're communicating with me through another one, I'll remind you that you need to use the McMaster email system. I'd also like to just spend a minute talking about online meeting recordings. So we will be meeting for 1 hour per week. These meetings will be recorded and posted on Avenue to Learn. So whether I'm doing a lecture, we're having a discussion, that material will be recorded and posted. In a contemporary digital culture that we live in, you should anticipate that you are being recorded basically all the time. That being said, you do not have permission to record these lectures independently. I will record them and place them online. When we have a guest speaker, I will ask the guest speaker if I can record the conversation and post it online. And if they agree, they will be posted. Please do not record the lectures, and please do not download any of the recordings and post them somewhere else. Please don't email them to other students. Please don't post them on a website or on Facebook or on YouTube or on iTunes. The recordings are copyright protected, and so sharing those materials beyond the context of the course is considered to be a violation of copyright. So each week, you'll notice in the course outline is explored in brief detail. There's information like when you have to complete the engagement activities, how long the module lasts within the context of the course timing. Rather than weeks, we are talking about modules because we're not meeting together. So really, you can work asynchronously over the 7 days that you have for each module, but I'm asking folks to finish the module from one session the day before class, so the night before class starts again. I'm also asking folks to look at the topics that are expressed in many of the modules, and the readings that are assigned for each module are there as well in the hard copy of the course outline. If you go to Avenue to Learn, you'll see that there's much more detail, including things like the engagement activities and supplemental pieces of information. So hopefully that's clear to you. And of course, the schedule is always subject to change. There could be something that would require us to do a bit of a rethink. If there's a cancellation, if there's illness, if we end up with an election called, we might want to look at something different. So generally speaking, the course outline is firm. It's a contract between us, but there is some movement around timing and content. We have Reading Week, the week of October 12th to the 16th. We will not have a Zoom meeting. There is no new material assigned during that period of time, so you have a little bit of extra time to do the material that comes after and before. And so hopefully we'll all make good use of that time reading or sleeping, resting, recuperating, regenerating, and getting ready for the next period of time that we're together. Our last scheduled Zoom meeting is December the 3rd. This is meant to be an ending session, but it's possible that if we have another missed class, we have another scholar strike, or we have a illness or some other phenomena that happens and big internet outage, then we could use this last class to make up any material that we have left over. The last day of the term this year is December the 9th. You do have assignments due after December the 9th, but we won't be meeting and there won't be any new material assigned. Pardon me. I also want people to know that there is flexibility, so if you have a need, do let me know and I'll do my best to accommodate you. The deadlines that are hard are the due dates for marks, which are usually around the 29th of December or around the 3rd of January, depending on when New Year's falls and all that kind of stuff. So I have no flexibility around those time periods, and I need at least 10 days before the final due date to be able to mark things, because if something were to happen to me, like I got sick, I need to have a little bit of wriggle room. There is also the potential for an incomplete in the course, which would mean that you could extend the course into the next semester. However, I think it's important to remember that you have an even fuller plate next term when you have placement. So trying hard to wrap things up this term, I think, is a wise move on your part. But life happens, crap happens, and we'll just go with the flow. It's been a crazy year. Crazy is maybe not the best year. It's been a chaotic year. And so flexibility and just trying to come up with solutions is sort of the MO at this point in time, and I'm happy to work with you to meet your needs and to work towards your success in the program. Looking forward to seeing you on Thursday at our Zoom meeting. Bye for now.